Thank you,
Delegate.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee.
Thank you. And last but surely not least, we have my own bill that I will present, House Bill 1683. In that case, I am going to pass over the rights of being chair to Delegate McQuinn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1683. And I think that at this time, there is a substitute. Could I have a motion? Accept this. Motion has been made properly second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those that oppose, there are none. Madam Chair, Madam Delegate Sewell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1683 seeks to address two primary concerns, but before I begin, as noted, we had an amendment in the nature of a substitute. Each member of the subcommittee has a copy before them, and this has also been posted online for those who are following along in the audience or online.
Move the amendment. Second.
I think I already did so. Yeah.
All right, the motion has been made to move the amendments and properly second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, there are none.
And I will, thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm going to walk everyone through the bill and note each of the respective changes. But I will begin by acknowledging when a customer's vehicle has an issue that requires a repair and the problem is not under warranty or recall, the customer pays the retail price. But when a customer's vehicle has an issue that requires repair and the problem is under warranty or recall, the customer pays nothing as the dealer fixes the problem and is reimbursed by the manufacturer. All too often, manufacturers manipulate the amounts paid by warranty and recall repairs in numerous ways. Sometimes manufacturers do not pay the same hourly labor rate as retail customers. Manufacturers also artificially reduce the amount of time they claim is required for warranty/recall labor so they can compensate for fewer hours. And manufacturers have complete control over the price of parts and alter them to reduce their warranty recall repair costs. All this forces the dealership to either pay their technicians less for the work they do on warranty and recall repairs, or to supplement their pay and allow the manufacturer to shift the cost of their product quality issues to the dealer. And for those who are following along, we are now to the point of right of refusal. So line 17 and 18 reference the right of refusal. In 2024, the statute governing approval of a dealership sale by a manufacturer was amended to clarify that the manufacturer has 60 days to object to the sale upon the notice from the selling dealer that the statute outlines. In a related code section, current law requires a manufacturer that wishes to exercise a right of first refusal for a dealership sale to notify the selling dealer within 45 days of a quote-unquote completed proposal. Because of some confusion about what constitutes a completed proposal, this bill would count that 45 days from the notice in the buy-sell statute. This is a technical change to which the statute's more consistent, and this time limit for a right of first refusal has always been shorter so that the seller and buyer do not get too far in the transaction if the manufacturer is going to come in and buy the deal. We are then on to lines 55 through 57. And this is a reference to determination of warranty compensation. The Virginia Code requires that manufacturers compensate dealers for the warranty work they do at the same amounts as dealers charge to retail customers. And manufacturers can challenge the amounts if they feel the amounts are not reasonable. I want to state that one more time. Manufacturers can challenge the amounts if they feel that the amounts being charged are not reasonable. The code lays out how to determine those warranty amounts. This has been the law for over 30 years. In 2022, the Virginia Code was changed to address the determination of warranty compensation amounts. And the Virginia Auto Dealers Association originally proposed removing the term reasonable as a qualifier for the retail amounts. The auto dealers have compromised and amended their language as noted today. so that it notes that the legislation related to the reasonableness of dealer repair amounts to still allow a manufacturer to challenge a dealer's amount, but to establish a presumption that the manufacturer would have to overcome that the dealer amounts as calculated according to the statute were reasonable. The auto dealers also did not include that it must be overcome by clear and convincing evidence as they had originally proposed in this bill. However, manufacturers still routinely deny dealers their full retail amounts by simply stating that some other repair facility charges less and that therefore the dealer's amounts are not reasonable. This is all the manufacturers offer to overcome the presumption in the statute. Bringing Virginia in line with 15 other states, this bill removes the reasonable qualifier and simply relies on the statutory calculation to determine a retail amount. If you can drop down to lines 60 through 62, that is where we address the full payment for a diagnostic time. So as we all know, vehicle technology has changed rapidly in recent years, and dealers have witnessed an uptick in the time dealership techs must spend troubleshooting repairs with manufacturers. An automotive technician cannot simply work on another vehicle while waiting for an answer for a problem, as there's a car in the bay. So this bill guarantees that technicians are compensated for time spent waiting and communicating with the manufacturer for technical assistance related to warranty or recall repair. At the bottom of page 3, you'll see line 80, and it continues on the next page through line 84. And this addresses recall parts pricing manipulation. So dealers are compensated for warranty and recall repairs, both for labor and parts. The parts compensation takes the form of a markup of a percentage of the price of the part, just like any retailer who sells a good purchased at wholesale and sold at retail. Manufacturers routinely slash the price of parts for recall and similar repairs to slash the markup amount in order to pay dealers less for those repairs. This bill addresses that problem of pricing, and in particular pricing manipulation, by prohibiting manufacturers from arbitrarily reducing the price of a part that will be used in the recall or similar repair. This bill also will establish the price of the part as the highest price in the last 12 months. This has no impact on consumers, as recall repairs are entirely at the expense of the manufacturer. Price manipulation simply allows manufacturers to unfairly shift the cost of their product quality issues to dealers. On page 5, lines 116 through 120, we address payment time of rental reimbursement. So manufacturers sometimes require dealers to provide a rental vehicle for customers to use during a warranty or recall repair. In 2022, the General Assembly passed legislation requiring full reimbursement to dealers for rental costs. While some manufacturers' policies still do not provide for full reimbursement, I'm not addressing that issue at this time. We have enough on our plate. However, a related problem has arisen given the unusually long delays in parts availability, which prevent dealers from making necessary repairs for weeks, months, and yes, sometimes even years. Dealers are not reimbursed for the rental expenses until the repair is complete and the warranty claim is filed. When a customer drives a rental for an extended time before a warranty repair can be completed, the dealer carries that expense. This bill allows a dealer to request reimbursement for rental expenses incurred within 30 days of the dealer having paid those charges for the customer's rental vehicle. Okay, and now I'm going to encourage you to drop down on page 5 and look at lines 125 through 128. And this is where we are providing some clarification on rental reimbursement. So manufacturers do not always reimburse dealers according to the language already outlined in the statute. And one practice that has become rather common is that we have the refusal to reimburse a dealer who's unable to rent a certain type of vehicle for a customer, but is still required to provide a rental vehicle. So let's say that the manufacturer is X company and only Y vehicles are available. That has become reason enough for the manufacturer not to reimburse the auto dealer. This bill clarifies that the manufacturer must reimburse the dealer when it requires the dealer to provide a rental without exceptions of the kind of vehicle that it is. And then lastly, drop down to page 7, and you'll see lines 184 through 189 on page 8, which address recall part returns. Manufacturers often prohibit a dealer from returning parts that a dealer does not use related to recall or similar repair, and this leaves the dealer with obsolete inventory. Dealers are then forced to either limit parts on hand, and which also limits a quick fix for their customers' vehicles, or they risk losing money on parts that they can never use or return. This bill allows dealers to return those unused parts. And this is also a note of discussion that has occurred. The manufacturers had initially requested a 6-month timeline. This, as noted in this bill, we are at 12 months. With that said, I am accompanied by an auto technician who can speak to this experience even better than I can and the impact that this has on their work. But I also would like to leave time for a representative from the Virginia Auto Dealers Association who was just to also speak to House Bill 1683.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, Delegate Sewell, for that very intense conversation about this. Before we ask the public to speak, we did want to ask, are there any members of the subcommittee, are there any questions from any members of the subcommittee at this time? Okay. Seeing none, we will hear now from the public. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. My name is Tony Kaminsky, and I'm the service director at Park Chevrolet here in Richmond. Our company operates a dealer group consisted of 11 franchises, 2 in the state of Virginia, as well as numerous stores throughout North and South Carolina. Manufacturers play a lot of games when it comes to how they pay for warranty work, limit how much they have to pay the dealer, fulfill the warranty that they make the customer to fix their problem, quality issues. This legislation is important to my employees and I. When a manufacturer shortchanges a dealer on warranty compensation, this impacts the whole entire service department as well as our dealerships. The technicians that I manage, they're very hesitant to work on warranty repairs because of the time reduction, as well as the less compensation that we receive from the manufacturers on some of these jobs. Not only is it become a morale issue, but in a business aspect as well. And unfortunately, we do tend to lose some of our, good technicians to independence because they feel that they can make more money. And this time and day and age, technicians are a dying breed, and we need to do everything we can in order to retain them and grow and mentor them. So in ask, I just please ask that you all support HB 1683. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Ann Gambardella for the Virginia Auto Dealers Association. Let's be clear on one thing about this statute generally. Warranty and recall compensation is about problems with the manufacturer's product. Manufacturers want to push onto dealers the cost of their product quality issues. The patron did a great job walking through the language of this bill, and I'm going to focus on just one point that we know the manufacturers have been trying to make concerning how to determine warranty compensation and that qualifying term reasonable. Manufacturers routinely rely on, as you heard, the code lays out how to determine what manufacturers must pay their dealers for warranty and recall work. It is their retail amounts from 100 consecutive repair orders or repair orders over 90 days. So this is what retail customers are actually paying. Those amounts are presumed reasonable unless the manufacturer can show those amounts are unreasonable. That's how the code reads now. But manufacturers routinely rely on the amounts charged by other dealers to contest an individual dealer request for increased warranty compensation under the statute. The manufacturer controls the amounts they pay to all dealers, so they are completely controlling that comparison. If a dealer request is deemed unreasonable and reduced by the manufacturer, that'll reduce dealer compensation generally, and then that lower amount will be used against the next dealer that tries to request additional compensation because they're going to be compared to the dealer who's just been dinged. They are absolutely controlling the market pricing on warranty compensation, and this statute would prevent that from continuing to happen. When we shared this draft legislation with the manufacturers in early December, we made it clear that this comparison was the problem with the way the statute was drafted. Yet each time they made suggestions for amendments, they included this comparison in their language that they sent to us. There are 16 other states now that have taken this approach. Nebraska was just added to the list, and other states are considering this legislation. This is clearly an issue nationwide, and Virginia dealers should not have less protection in their statute than all of those other dealers. I know many of you have received letters from dealers in your area and from their employees. Almost 700 have been sent in. We also have more than 100 people from our industry down at the Capitol tomorrow to advocate for this important bill. We ask that you recommend reporting HB1683, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who's speaking in support of the bill?
Madam Chair, I'm Don Hall with the Virginia Auto Dealers Association. I just want to give some context, everybody here. I've had the pleasure and privilege of working for auto dealers now for 45 years. I'm not that old, but 45 years. At the end of the day, these battles have gone on my entire career for 45 years. The manufacturers continue to take from the dealers. That affects us as consumers. It affects the people we employ in our dealerships. This bill is very important. As you heard from testimony from Ms. Gambardella, this is happening nationwide for a reason. The manufacturers do not treat their franchisees as partners. It is our job to make sure that you all understand that, and hopefully you can help us so we can go to court if we need to go to court to resolve these problems. Thank you for your time, and we appreciate it.
Madam Chair, good morning. Members of the subcommittee, Delegate Sewell, thank you for that overview of the bill. And I do want to acknowledge that there have been some changes made, but I am here in opposition to a couple other points. I just want to inform the committee about that, but thank you for that opening there. So as you've heard, the bill does remove the existing law's requirements that parts and labor rates a dealer charges a manufacturer must be reasonable. Note that, unlike most customers, manufacturers cannot take their business elsewhere if they think they're being charged an unreasonable rate. The current law in Virginia requires manufacturers to send their warranty work to dealers, which means the law should give manufacturers some ability to protect themselves from unreasonable prices. The removal of the reasonable standard has shown in other states to allow dealers to demand unreasonable rates for manufacturers that do not reflect market conditions or what dealers charge Virginia. And I don't think Nebraska has actually passed that bill. It was just introduced. So I wouldn't add them to the list quite yet. After the standard was removed in California, one manufacturer saw labor rates increase by almost 98%, almost double what they were paying before and went into effect. And that's what we're trying to protect against here, really. We need some protection. Otherwise, the only chance we would have is we'd have to show fraud, that the dealer was fraudulent in their submissions if this bill were to pass. So from our perspective, the bill adds unnecessary costs, which are ultimately passed on to the consumer. And the average dealer already earns a gross profit margin of 78% on their labor used in warranty repairs. So from our perspective, there's no need to allow the state dealers to force manufacturers to pay even higher prices. And the second part I'd like to discuss very briefly deals with the parts and pricing. As Delegate Sewell said, right now, dealers would be able to demand the highest cost over the previous 12 months. From our perspective, there's plenty of reasons why costs go down. This would be an inflationary policy, and I think Virginia would want to avoid higher costs and higher prices since we just went through several years of intense inflation. But for example, manufacturers are able to get a part from its supplier with a lower cost because the shortages that drove up those higher costs have abated, or if a manufacturer is placing a large order for a recall, volume discounts are common, not just in this industry, but across the board. So from our perspective, if costs have legitimately gone down, we think there's no reason that dealers should be able to charge the highest costs over the previous 12 months. That's just inflationary. So with those comments, I thank you for your time. We'd happy to continue working on the bill. We've offered amendments, as the dealers noted, and we'd like to see those changes, but thank you for your time today. Happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chair, I have a question. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. My question would be, is it true that the dealers have changed part numbers and reduced the cost of a part that the manufacturers have reduced the cost of a part to a dealer when it's a recall situation?
Well, let's step back here, right? So we have a parts catalog. All the parts are listed. That helps not just dealers, but do-it-yourself folks, independent shops, all order from this parts catalog. So why do we have the parts numbers? To make it easy to order so everybody knows what part you need for the repair. And there are several reasons those parts numbers may change. Engineering changes. It's a different supplier. So there are reasons that parts get a new number, and as I noted, there are reasons that part costs go down, right? If we order a widget because we have a recall, say a fuel pump, we know a fuel pump's gone bad, we got to order 20,000 fuel pumps. From the supplier, you're probably going to get a discount. And so you might put a new part number in the catalog with the reduced cost of that part, because to the manufacturer, the part cost has gone down. So of course, we're going to we'd want to send, compensate the dealer for the cost of that part that we pay, not, because it was higher in the parts catalog 12 months before because we had a different supplier or we weren't ordering such large volumes of that part. So again, there are legitimate reasons why part costs go down, but just allowing the dealer to charge the highest cost over the last year just because, we think that's inflationary. That's going to lead to higher costs. It's more costs in the system.
Okay, Madam Chair, follow-up question. If it's determined that it's unreasonable by you, is there an arbitration process within Virginia that you go through, or does it go directly to a court of law?
Under current law?
Yes.
Yeah, so if, and we have a manufacturer representative who'll be able to tell you how they do it. Under the current law, as Ann said, the presumption is on a manufacturer to overcome that the warranty rate submission is not reasonable, and that they use various indicators. They said they compare local market conditions, things like that. So if the dealer could sue us if they think we unjustly denied the rate. There's no forced arbitration that I'm aware of. It ends up in court. Same thing's going to happen here, right? We'd have to be, but it's even more challenging for us if this bill passes, because there is no, the only thing we could allege would be fraud, right? So we're just going to have to, we lose that ability to charge, allege that this is unreasonable. So that's a concern of ours. We're going to lose the ability to really push back on these increased costs.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Antonio Elias. I'm an attorney at the Volkswagen Group of America. Our headquarters is up in Reston, so I'm very privileged to get to live in my home state and work for a manufacturer as an attorney. So I am the person for Volkswagen who handles all of these requests if they end up in front of a lawyer. I've been doing this since about 2022, and so I'm here specifically to speak to lines 55 through 57 of the substitute that have to do with reasonableness that you all have heard about quite a bit for sure. The main point I'm here to make is with actual numbers to tell you that the system as it is set up in Virginia and the vast majority of other states works. We've heard that manufacturers routinely and simply deny rates. I have not done that a single time in Virginia. In the 3 years I've been on this job, I've seen multiple requests from Virginia dealers, and in one case, when a dealer requested a parts markup of 118%, we offered a counteroffer of 106% because we thought 118% markup was a bit unreasonable. The dealer accepted it. In every other case, We have accepted exactly the rate the dealer requested as long as it was calculated properly under the statute. We have not relied on reasonableness. And as a result of this system, in Virginia, dealers across Volkswagen have had an increase in labor reimbursement for warranty of about 30% from 2020 to 2024. 30% increase in warranty reimbursement per hour. That doesn't show flat denials. That doesn't show that the system isn't working. In fact, nationally, it has also been an increase of about 30% because, indeed, technicians have been needed to pay more. There's been some inflation. There's been wage increases. So the system accounts for that. We do have a couple states that allow for unreasonable requests. They're about a dozen, 13, 14, something like that. And in those states, instead of seeing regular increases that seem to match inflation, we sometimes see cost increase overnight, doubling, $150 an hour to $300 an hour, because the dealers have found customers who, frankly, have chosen to pay that amount. Maybe they weren't paying attention, I don't know, but we accept those. There's nothing we can do. But again, to drill in on the numbers, in California, whereas it's been about a 30% increase over the past 4 years in Virginia, and nationally, it's a little bit over 40% in California, a bit over 40% in Florida. In Wisconsin, which did away with reasonableness, we've seen costs increase 65%. And again, we hear why this is necessary. I haven't heard who these manufacturers are or what these simple denial letters are that were alluded to. I have not been involved in one, and when I spoke to VADA, they said Volkswagen's not the problem. But the issue is, for the manufacturers that are the problem, I haven't heard who they are, but there's already a recourse. As we were alluding to with the last speaker, it is on the manufacturer to demonstrate that the rate is not reasonable. And right down the statute, it says that if there's a dispute, the dealer may protest, file a protest before the DMV. There's another section of the Virginia Code that says if a manufacturer, if anyone is shown to have violated the statute, then the protesting party here, the dealer, may obtain attorney's fees. So there isn't even a cost to the protest. So my question for VADA is, why, if this is this widespread problem, where are the protests? Why are we not going after these bad manufacturers? So again, in closing, in every other business relationship, sorry, Madam Chair, do you have a question?
No, we're just going to ask you to, yeah.
Of course,
yeah.
I'm close. In every other business relationship between a buyer and the seller, of course, the buyer wants to get more money, the seller wants to pay less money. But in every other such relationship, they can openly negotiate costs. A party can walk away if it wants to, or if it comes to it, no one likes it, but there can be a lawsuit over the terms of the agreement. Here, manufacturers would not be allowed to negotiate costs. We wouldn't be allowed to walk away. They have us as a captive customer. And we wouldn't even be allowed to go to a neutral arbiter to determine whether the rates are reasonable.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'm Edward Mullen with Seven Hills on behalf of General Motors, and I won't belabor any points. We appreciate the patron very much working with us over the course of session, and the VADA do continue to have concerns on the lines 55 through 57 that have been highlighted. It is hard for me to wrap my head around getting rid of a reasonableness provision in this section. So we'll continue to work, understand this is a process, but respectfully do have concerns with that section and hope we can keep working on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Jeff Palmer on behalf of Ford Motor Company. Associate my comments with those of the previous speakers. We would ask to preserve the reasonableness standard if the code includes reasonableness now, and the absence of that in the future begs the question of whether it will allow for unreasonableness. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Chris Nolan with McGuire Woods on behalf of Volvo Trucks, which manufactures heavy-duty trucks in Dublin, Virginia. I want to thank the patron and the VADA for soliciting feedback and being open to feedback. Like the other speakers, though, however, we do prefer to have some type of standard of reasonable in there and would hope to continue the conversation as we move forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. For all those who have come before us, we have online. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Delegate Austin.
Madam Chair, VADA, Ann, would you come back up, please? And I'm really concerned with the price manipulation part of this, lines 55 through 57. You heard the gentleman's reply to my question. Can you share the dealer's concerns with this, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Delegate Austin, understand that there's two parts of the compensation that a dealer receives for a warranty repair. They receive their markup on a part, and they receive their labor rate. So we're talking about the parts markup here. I have examples where a part that was a list price of $356.02 before recall went down to $86.06. Understand that if a dealer's getting 30% markup on that part, you can do the math at how much that reduces their price part. This is not an unusual situation where they reduce the prices artificially to limit what they have to pay for these repairs. So what we're really talking about is the percentage the dealer is getting of that price part on a recall repair that they've reduced the price from $356 to $87.
Follow-up question, Madam Chair.
Yes, Delegate Austin.
So, after the recall process is finished and that part is back in the inventory, does that price go back to where it originally was, or does it stay at the reduced value?
Madam Chair, Delegate Austin, those parts are obsolete at that point. Once the repair has been done on all the vehicles under recall, there's no use for those parts, hence the need to return them. So it's not a matter of the price going back up, it's those parts are no longer necessary.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, I just would note one thing under the reasonableness discussion. I have an example of where Volkswagen did indeed reduce a dealer's rate because they suggested the dealer hadn't calculated it properly under the statute. They would still be able to do that. That's how this works. It's not just the dealer coming up with some amount. This is done with 100 consecutive repair orders, what you and I off the street would pay. So the idea that there's this unfettered, unreasonable way to go about it is just not true. And so we have numerous examples where that's the case.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
At this time, we will entertain any individual who may be online who want to speak in favor of the bill, or if there's anyone who wish to speak in opposition of the bill. There are none, and so at this time, then we go back to the committee, and what is the will of the committee? And the committee operates by motion.
Madam Chair.
There are no more questions.
Madam Chair, move to report with substitute.
Okay, motion has been made and properly second to report the substitute. At this time, we're going to ask that the House Bill 1683 will be reported with the substitute. And would you open the roll? Open the roll. Yeah, report. Yeah, substitute as amended. Yes. Okay. All right. Members have recorded their vote on the electronic voting system. The clerk will be asked to close the roll at this time. And the 7 report with the substitute 7-1. The bill is reported. House Bill 1683 is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to reclaim the gavel, if you don't mind. As there is no further business before the DMV Subcommittee of Transportation, I will gladly entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Anyone in opposition? The meeting is adjourned.